transition from single Akosua to married Akosua?
Married Akosua,
How
yes.
different is she?
How different is she?
Yeah.
I think the thing is that I've learned is that I got married late in my life,
Smart.
29,
Smart.
which to me is the bomb, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, because if I've gotten married any earlier, I was selfish.
Yeah. It's not
It
just you.
was
All of
all
us
about
were.
me.
Yeah.
All
All of us
about me.
were.
Because your single life is literally you
Hmm.
doing what you got to do and you out there. You just, you about your business and that's it. But the marriage of Kosua had to really learn to sacrifice, to be given. I'm talking about giving your time, mentally, emotionally, physically, because Bible talks. First of all, marriage is God's heart. He loves marriage because, and it is like the role of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, husband and wife. And we as believers are the bride, and Christ is the groom. And so it's a big deal to God. And I believe that I got married at the right time because God worked on me. He worked on my laziness, right? He worked on me being selfish, like I said. That's mine. Like I hear my tear. That's mine. That's my mommy. He tells my kids,
Hmm.
that's my mommy. Very possessive. But the married a coach was, it was like, no, this is ours.
Yeah.
So now I'm going from me to ours.
Yeah.
My husband, when I got married, like I said, I grew up in Delaware. My husband lived in Massachusetts. We met at a prayer camp. My spiritual father, Apostle Akufu, he used to do prayer camps
Hmm.
once a year in November,
Yeah.
and October, November. And I met my husband there. But when I met him, it wasn't even, it was that we were all there to be part of this, prayer conference. And then we all attended Bible school through, the apostle and the teachers and things like that. And so we actually begin to move from knowing each other, because I always tell people I never looked at my husband like somebody I was going to marry,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people meet people and they're attracted to each other, and
Hmm.
they build, conversation and relationships and things like that. But God was working on me. He literally had to, you know, pluck out the things, because like I said, I was not ready. I was holding on to certain things. The church that I grew up in, I
Yeah.
love my church. I served in my church. I believed that I was going to, get married in my church. I used to remember like um, men will come and I'm like, you don't go to my church. That's look at his mindset. You
Yeah.
don't even go. I can't even talk to you.
Right.
Wrong mindset, right?
Yeah.
Wrong mindset. And I remember my husband, when I had called him once and I said, this prayer group that we have for the youth, I want you to come on there. I want you to teach them and, pray and all of those things. And he and his, a couple of the other pastors had kind of branched off our church that they were in, and they started their own church, right? So he was no longer even in my church anymore.
Right.
And I was like, well, you don't go to my church no more? But he came anyway,
Yeah.
because it's all about serving God. And I tell, especially women, that when you're about God's business, right?
Hmm.
When you don't concentrate on I'm single, when is he going to come, but you begin to walk that purposeful life that he has for you.
Yeah.
You're about his business.
Right.
While you're not even paying attention and looking, right?
Yeah.
God brings that perfect person. When I say my husband is so perfect for me, Dwayne, he's so perfect for me because he has worked with me, my babiness, my whininess, my everything, that God has gradually worked on me on, but he accepted me for me,
Yeah.
right? And that's the type of husband that you want. And overall, he loves Christ.
Yeah.
He makes it his business to seek him and have that relationship with God. And I told you from before, what attracts us as people when we are believers is Christ.
Right.
So we were attracted to each other by Christ, right? And then on Mother's Day, like 2000, and I want to say like 10, 9-ish, he called me on Mother's Day and he was like, Happy Mother's Day. And I was like, I'm not a mother. I've got no kids. And then he was like, but you're going to be a mother one day, right? And I was like, yeah, I am. Okay. That's weird, but okay. But he's right. I am a mother, right? I am whatever God says I am. And so on Father's Day in June, I said, well, happy Father's Day, right? And then a couple months later, he called me. He was like, you know what? I've been praying and God told you that you are my wife. And I was like, first of all, African men, right? I always tell people, I joke with them. I think African men are so bold. Like they will tell you, I love you today, right? And so when he said that to me, I was like, well, God, and my husband is gone, right? And I told you I'm Ashanti.
Right.
I had this ridiculous ideology that we sometimes have with different tribes. Like, oh, I can't marry into that tribe because, of things that you've seen and you heard. And I was just like, God, now I've been telling you, I can't marry God, And I remember talking to my mentor, and it's so important as a single person that you have a mentor, a spiritual mentor. And my mentor said, Akos, this man is so humble. He loves God, which is what you always pray for and desire. And he taught me this. He said, it's always God first, right? Family second, church, community third. God is everywhere. So even if you're not in this church anymore, which I am not now, right? I'm not. You will still be okay because God is everywhere.
Yeah.
And so we got married, right? We barely dated, It was just like once God gave me that confirmation, because he's already given it to my husband. He was the only man that I introduced to my parents. I never brought anybody home and say, Dad, this is that, because in my home, my father was not hearing that. So he was the one. He came all the way from Massachusetts, knocked on that door, and met Mr. Kofi Akosua Bempomaah and say, sir, I am interested in marrying your daughter. And they sat in the living room while me and my mom were in the kitchen like, oh my God, what is he saying to him? In our tradition, you don't just get married. It's a family thing. And so we were able to go through all of those things, basically teaching my husband and I that we both matter. We have families. It's not just us. When we make a decision not to be together, it doesn't just break us apart. It breaks a family, Exactly. And so we were able to get married 2011. And I have grown so much. Our 11 years of being married, just to depend on God. Yeah. To learn to love my husband through the eyes of God and not me and not the world, not my mom and dad's relationship, but a perspective of Christ, right? What is God saying about me? What do I need to do in my marriage? Yeah. Right? And then also, just praying for my husband, asking God to guide him, because sometimes I used to be like, I'm his Holy Spirit. You are not his Holy Spirit, right? God got him. Yeah. Whatever he's doing, God is ordering his steps. I got to trust God that my husband is going to be the right husband for me and do what he needs to do, right? Teach me, and me being humble. I had to learn that. I'm the oldest. Yeah. So I'm very aggressive when it comes to, I do everything. Like, everything is me.
So I got to ask now, right? Because you told us that you're older than your husband. So there is
I'm not older than my husband.
Oh, okay.
I am the oldest with my siblings.
Gotcha.
And so my way of doing things is always you kind of just do. Gotcha. And they follow. Gotcha. And I had to learn to say, nope, he's the one that you are following, right?
Yeah.
My husband is gentle, and I'm very like, it's like fire. I mean, he's fired, but I'm like, ah. And so God has really humbled me. I learned in our marriage that whatever I do to my husband, I'm doing it unto God, right? And that really changed my perspective of our marriage.
Yeah.
That I have to honor God as I honor my husband. And when you look at marriage that way, even when he does things that I don't like, I said, "No, Jesus, now did you hear that? What he just said to me?" And sometimes it's like, look, I'm telling, I'm telling on you, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we both understand and we put value on Christ, and so we are able to work out our differences, work out things, areas that we are intentional about working on, because we put this living life as a believer in perspective in our marriage. And being here in Georgia has really, 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 really bond us even closer because we don't have no family here.
Yeah.
We're like Abraham and Sarah,
There
right?
you go.
We left everything, we came here, and we really had to only lean on God and us,
Yeah.
And that has really drawn us together. And so we are intentional with our marriage.
That's good. That's good. So I'm listening to you and I'm hearing two distinct things. Number one, because I mentioned the whole identity piece earlier. So because you took the time, you say you got married at 29, right? So you took the time to have a very clear identity of who God is, and because of that identity, you had a good understanding of who you were.
Yeah.
And then at that particular point in time, at the age of 29, you got married. And then because of your clear identity of who he is, and based upon what Ephesians 5 tells us, that you now have a very clear perspective of what people tend to call roles in marriages, right?
Yeah.
We have a clear depiction of roles, because I heard you said it. You're like, whatever I'm doing to him, I'm doing it as unto Christ. So that was clear. That was, and I like how you said that, because it kind of paints a different picture than what society paints.
Definitely.
Society paints an individualistic picture, two separate entities that decide to join together under one roof. You have your own thoughts, you have your own mind, you have your own this, you have your own that, you have your own, like you're an individual, that person's an individual, you have to figure it out.
Right.
That's confusion in the
That's the confusion. Yes.
I'm sorry. And I just love the way you kind of broke that down, because it was totally different than what you're seeing on TV, on commercials, and all this other stuff.
And all of it, because you become one. Marriage says, you will become one. My husband and I are one. We always pray to have one vision, one mind, one sound. We go into the same directions. We have to make the same decisions with our finances, with our children, with our time. And we both have to learn that and say, okay, we have one family. When I tell you I'm so blessed, and I really have to thank God for that.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we come from two different tribes, right? And I've seen, that's why I always tell people, don't let somebody else's story deny your blessings.
Yeah.
Because you can look at other people, but you got to know that your story is different. Though they went through it this way, that doesn't mean you're going to go through it that way.
Absolutely.
Our two families are literally one. I love my husband's family. They are my family. I mean, I talk to them more than they talk to him. I'm like, I'm calling, and my parents can go to them and stay there without me being there, right? Because they understand what that dynamic looks like. And that is what we as Christians, we really have to, like you said, we have to die. I had to let Akosua, the single, she had to go.
Yeah.
Because if you bring that in and he brings his single in, like you said, there's confusion.
There's confusion.
My way, your way, God's way.
Yeah. And I like to make that perfectly clear, because the sooner you let go of your idea of what God is supposed to be doing in your life, the sooner he can actually do what he promised to do in your life. It's two totally different things. Right? And you said it best. You said, I didn't think about marrying anybody outside our church. I was going to marry somebody. Like, in my mind, my husband
In my
coming out
mind.
of this church. So, okay, good luck. You know what I'm saying? That's what he did.
Right.
You know, but that's what life is. Soon as we relinquish our perspective of what we think God's blessings look like, then what we'll realize that he was blessing us the whole time we couldn't see it.